morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Thursday, December 4th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle flying solo on today's show. We've mixed the schedule up a little bit this week with it being signing day. Dan and the boys did Wednesday's show, so I'm with you on a Thursday. I'll be with you with J-Book tomorrow, and we might have a special guest with us. We'll see about that. But J-Book and I will be with you guys tomorrow for BTA Fridays. All right, let's get to it. So welcome into the show. Obviously, the big news yesterday with Brian Hartline taking the South Florida job. Obviously, not ideal timing, to say the least, for Ohio State. But I like what Ryan Day said yesterday when we asked him about it. He's like, listen, yeah, it's not good timing, but that's not Brian's fault. That's other people's fault for making the calendar the way it is. So happened really quick. He did interview for some of the bigger jobs, like Penn State. And people have asked me, well, how could – I'm not surprised he left, but why wasn't it for a better job? Well, it's like, well, first of all, I think the USF job is a sneaky good job. I mean, nice place to live. They've been playing at the Buck Stadium since they've been a program, I believe. But now they're going to have their own on-campus stadium. It's going to open not this coming year, but the following year. Very similar to what Northwestern's doing. You know, smaller stadium, but on campus, you know. Northwestern's obviously was already on campus. They're just building it right where Ryan Field used to be, the new Ryan Field. It looks really cool. So, you know, it's a sneaky good job. And then there's not a lot of pressure on you. You can recruit Florida. So I get it. Why didn't he get like the Penn State job? I heard he didn't interview well. Now, what's the validity of that? I don't know, but there's been multiple reports that when he interviewed for some of these high profile, I think there was one other that he interviewed for that he just didn't interview well. So I think it's a good fit for both sides. It obviously sucks for Ohio State, so let's get to that. Now, let's look at the plan that Ryan Day kind of talked about yesterday. Now, did he give specifics? No. Do I have any specific names I'm hearing from the outside? No, I'm not going to get into specific names. I'm not hearing anything concrete. What I have been told is there's a chance that he could promote from within. Like, for example, Devin Jordan does a great job as like the assistant wide receivers coach, kind of like a quality control coach. You know, one of those guys, he's a paid assistant, but he's not like a full-time. I mean, he's a full-time assistant, but he's not like a position coach. You know, he's like the assistant wide receivers coach, analyst, you know, quality control, one of those things that he could get promoted. But I'm hearing what's more likely to happen is Dave will look outside the program to bring in an offensive coordinator. And then that offensive coordinator then could also be the wide receivers coach. They could move Keenan Bailey to wide receivers coach, and the new offensive coordinator could be tight end and offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. But again, there's a chance they could promote Devin Jordan because they really like him. But I'm hearing the most likely scenarios are going to bring in somebody from the outside. If they bring in somebody from the outside, you can't promote Devin Jordan because you're only losing one coach, not two. So, and I don't know. I mean, maybe Devin Jordan would tell you he's very happy just being at Ohio State, his alma mater, being the assistant wide receivers coach. And I know he's highly respected there. And, you know, if he's that good, he probably doesn't want to be assistant wide receivers coach the rest of his life. So much like Brian Hartline didn't just want to be wide receivers coach. He wanted to be offensive coordinator. And then when he became offensive coordinator, he wanted to eventually be a head coach. It makes sense. Any of us would do the exact same thing in our profession. All right. You don't want to just be stagnant, especially if you think that you could do a good job if you moved up. If you already think you're maybe you've reached your Peter principle, maybe you don't want to move up anymore if you're a realist. But no, seriously. So I get it. So I'm hearing the most likely scenarios he's going to bring in someone from the outside. And again, if I had any names, if anything breaks if I hear anything from sources that I got some lines in the water, my friends. If I hear any specific names from sources, I'll let you guys know. But I'm not hearing anything as far as like specific names, because what I was told by a really good source this morning was Ryan Day doesn't even know yet. He's got an idea, but I had a source say Ryan doesn't even know yet exactly what he's going to do. So of course, it's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of in the know here, but my source is saying like, I don't know, because Ryan doesn't even know. So there we go. But the plan is to bring in someone from the outside. And listen, if he hasn't already, I mean, Ryan Day has earned the benefit of the doubt and then some when it comes to assistant coach hirings. I know Kerry Combs. Everybody gets a mulligan. But even his first staff, what's he do? He brings in Jeff Hafley. That was a home run hire. I mean, he never thought it'd be one and done. After 1 year, Hafley becomes a Power 4 head coach. And then, I mean, Boston College is a really tough job. Didn't do great there, but didn't do horrible. I mean, I believe they got to a bowl game twice. Ask Bill O'Brien how that's going this year for Boston College. And then he parlays that into going back to the NFL as a defensive coordinator with the Packers, and he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and has even been mentioned he could be a head coach in the NFL. So did a great job with Hafley. Kerry Combs, not good. Knowles, that was a good hire. Whatever we want to say about Knowles, that was a good hire. The defense immediately got better and then kept getting better. Did he have a lot of talent to deal with? Yes. Is Matt Patricia an upgrade over Knowles? Yes. All things are true. And then the aforementioned Matt Patricia, just hopefully they hold on to Matt Patricia for another year, and I think they will. I know Matt is very happy, but you never know if an NFL team comes in and does a Chip Kelly situation and offers him $6 million to come be a DC in the NFL. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And Matt's already a rich man. He's happy. He's a family man. He's in Columbus. They enjoy it here. So hopefully it would take like a crazy amount of money for him to leave, and more than even an NFL team would be willing to spend. So hopefully he'll stay for another year. I think he will. And Chip Kelly, that's another one. We're talking about like Brian Day doing a good job with hiring coaches. I mean, him and Kevin Wilson came in together, but that was a good idea by Ryan Day when he put his first staff together. How about we keep Kevin Wilson around? Yeah. I don't think Kevin Wilson did a really bad job at Tulsa as head coach, but he was definitely a good assistant coach at Ohio State. And then brings Chip Kelly in. So I trust Ryan Day is going to do a really good job here. He's obviously known Brian. Now the USF, I keep going to call him UCF. The USF stuff was not on Ryan Day's radar because it was on nobody's radar. This happened in the last few days, and it happened quickly. But he did know, obviously, that Brian Hartline was interviewing for other jobs. He obviously knew Brian Hartline had the ambition of wanting to be a head coach. Ryan Day used to be in his shoes. Offensive coordinator. I want to be a head coach one day. And Brian knew it wasn't going to happen at Ohio State because they have a living legend as their head coach right now, who's just going to add to his legendary status here later this season. That first back-to-back national champion in Ohio State history, hopefully. It's looking good, my friends. So, stay tuned. But that's the plan that I'm hearing. Again, I don't have any concrete names, but look for somebody from the outside that he's going to bring in, but don't rule out the possibility that a Devin Jordan could get promoted. And it could be some shuffling of roles. Keenan Bailey could become wide receivers coach because he always helped out before he became tight ends coach. That's what he did. He was like the assistant wide receivers coach, basically, kind of what Devin Jordan's doing now. And then he became the tight ends coach. And then, depending on who the new offensive coordinator is, if the new offensive coordinator has a history with wide receivers, then he would just be the wide receivers coach and OC. But a lot of times these offensive coordinators will be like tight ends coach as well. So we'll see what happens there. Like Kevin Wilson. Well, Kevin Wilson was offensive line coach, but he also was tight ends coach for some of his tenure while he was offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So he had both roles. But mostly he was tight ends coach in addition to offensive coordinator. So obviously not good timing with signing day being yesterday. What are you going to do? Right? I mean, then you got Chris Henry Jr. announced he was going to sign with Ohio State, did the fake signing, but then didn't actually send his paperwork in. We're still waiting on that. So we'll see. But the Buckeyes still have the number 6 class in the nation. Okay. Is wide receiver recruiting going to take a hit with Hartline gone? Yes. Is Ohio State still going to land its fair share of really good wide receivers? Yes. I think both things are undoubtedly true. But I'm not going to sit here and say like wide receiving recruiting is not going to take a hit when Brian Hartline is the best ever to do it. Dare I say by a wide margin. So I can't say Brian Hartline is the best wide receiver recruiter ever by a wide margin, in my opinion, and then say in the next breath, yeah, Ohio State won't take a hit. They're going to take a hit, but it's not going to be anything that's going to hold the program back because maybe they'll start recruiting other positions even stronger. I think already they're doing that with the offensive line. And look what James Laurinaitis is doing with the linebackers. Are they going to – and they're still going to land quality wide receivers, okay? But, like, we've got to – I mean, Hartline went on a stretch that was historically unbelievably great as far as landing 5-star wide receivers. It's the first thing, landing the 5-star wide receivers. But then we've seen 5-star wide receivers that don't pan out, even some at Ohio State. Most of them have under Hartline. I'm going to get to that. we've seen like a Julian Fleming that doesn't pan out. Maybe it's because of injuries or whatever else. Maybe he was overrated because he played in a wishbone offense in high school, whatever. We see a lot of 5-star recruits across the country at different programs that don't pan out. So it's not just about getting the 5 stars. It's then, developing the 5 stars. So Hartline, an unprecedented run of getting the 5 stars, then an unprecedented run on top of that of developing those 5 stars into first-round picks. And then on top of that, not just developing those guys into first-round picks, but developing them into guys that hit the ground running in the NFL, that take the NFL by storm as rookies every year. And one year it happened twice with Olave and Garrett Wilson. Every year he's putting these 5-star, and Olave wasn't a 5-star, but, play along with me. Even Marvin Harrison Jr. somehow was only a 4-star, which is funny. Every year, look at Emeka this year. Look what Jackson Smith-Njigba is the highest rated wide receiver in football this year, other than maybe Jamar Chase. I don't know if the spitting knocked him down a peg, but if Jackson Smith-Njigba is right there with the Jamar Chase, perhaps ahead of him, hello. Chris Olave, he doesn't have a quarterback in New Orleans. He's still putting up a good year. Speaking of not having a quarterback, I bet the Cardinals are going to, part ways with Kyler Murray. Garrett Wilson, speaking of not having a quarterback, I shouldn't say that about Justin Fields. We love you, Justin. But come on. I mean, Garrett Wilson, all he does is produce. So an unprecedented run. Just hats off to Brian Hartline. Not only getting the 5 stars, which he just got a ton of them, developing them, and then they'd hit the ground running in the NFL. Like, they are ready to roll day one in the NFL. Emeka Egbuka came in with the Bucs this year and was ready to roll. Went from the Buckeyes to the Bucs, or from the Bucs to the Bucs. Go Bucs. So it's just so damn impressive. And hats off to Hartline, and I think he's going to kill it at USF. So we'll see what happens. Again, I don't think Ohio State's going to take a massive hit overall in recruiting. I think they're still going to be one of the top 5 recruiting programs every year. And they're going to do a good job in the portal. But, again, I can't say Hartline's the best to ever do it by a wide margin and say the recruiting hit's going to be minimal for wide receivers. We're going to take a little bit of a hit. But, again, beef up the other positions, and they're still going to get good wide receivers. Ohio State was landing good wide receivers long before Brian Hartline was wide receiver coach. It's just we've never seen anything like what he just did over the last 7 years or whatever it was. It's just staggering when I did the story yesterday and I'm typing it out. It's just, even though you know it, when you type it out, it's like, geez, just to see it in print, like one after another, after another, after another, after another. And it's going to keep going. Carnell Tate this year. Dane Brugler now has him not only as the number 1 wide receiver off the board, but has him as the number 4 overall pick. I believe Jeremiah Smith may be the next year, might be the next, being sarcastic, obviously. Obviously, Jeremiah will be the next year. It's going to continue in 2026 and 2027. And then we'll see after that, maybe Quincy Porter. Now, is there a danger that some of these guys could transfer? I don't think Jeremiah is going to transfer. He has 1 year left. He's very happy. If some team offers him some great NIL deal, Ohio State will match it. He's got 1 year left. He's being very well taken care of right now. Trust me. He's being very well taken care of, and rightfully so. Carnell's leaving after this year. He's obviously not on transfer watch. Brandon Ennis, I can't see him transferring. And stranger things have happened. I don't want to speak for JJ and Brandon, but Brandon's a captain already. He's going to be a 2-time captain as a senior next year, have a bigger role. I don't think those guys will transfer. Now, a guy like Bryson Rogers, if you tell me, is there any chance he'll transfer? He already flirted with the portal once 2 years ago, put his name in the portal, decided to take it out and come back. So he's already flirted with it once. Now that Hartline's gone, will he flirt with it again? Maybe actually go through with it? Or maybe he's thinking, ooh, now's my opportunity. Carnell's leaving. Even if I'm a backup, maybe the new wide receivers coach will play the backup wide receivers more than Hartline did. But if you're Bryson Rogers, you got to think next year's your time at Ohio State. That this is your time. But if you're Mylan Graham, you probably think the same thing. Quincy Porter, you probably think the same thing. So I think there's probably, a better than 50-50 chance Ohio State's going to lose 1 guy to the portal, wide receiver. And not necessarily to follow Hartline to UCF, or there we go, UCF. I knew it was good. USF, South Florida, which sounds like it's like if you didn't know any better, you say South Florida. It's near Miami, right? It's like it's in Tampa, so it's not that far South Florida, but it is South Florida. But not that necessarily they're going to follow Hartline to USF, but I think I won't be surprised if Ohio State loses 0 wide receivers. But I bet if I had to bet, I bet the odds are they'll lose 1. I don't know who it'll be. I just threw some names out there. It won't be JJ. It won't be Brandon, in my opinion. Could be one of those other guys. But those other guys, if I'm making the argument to let's say Quincy Porter is thinking, oh, man, I'm not going to play for Coach Hartline. I'm going to look around. If I was advising Quincy, I would say a couple things here. You have a real good chance to start next year with Carnell leaving. And your quarterback happens to be the most accurate quarterback to ever walk this planet. And I don't even think that's hyperbole. Like, I say it somewhat jokingly, but not really. He's definitely the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen, and I am just a football junkie. I'm a sports fan all around, but football's always been my number one by far, as far as sports that I get into as a fan. I played a little bit of tackle football in junior high, a couple years of tackle football, but basketball and baseball were my favorite sports to play. Tennis. I just wasn't tough enough to be a great football player. I liked it. It's kind of tough. Not tough enough. You got to be just a badass to be a really good football player. That wasn't me. I was okay. But football has always been, since I was a little kid, my favorite sport to watch by far. And Julian Sayin is the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen, period. He's a redshirt freshman, and he's as poised as any quarterback I've seen. He went up to Michigan. He's never played in the snow before, all the pressure. It's like nothing even bothered him. Throws an interception his second play. Okay. He's over there clapping after Michigan gets held to his field goal, we got this. We're good. Love that guy. And he we talked to him last night after practice saying, he's just, and you see it. He's not getting cocky, but you can tell he's getting a little more confident every time we talk to him. He never lacked confidence, and how could he not be confident? But he's not getting cocky, arrogant, none of that. He's almost too good to be true. So if I'm talking to Quincy Porter, I'm like, Quincy, you can be a starter next year, and you're going to have this absolute stud as your quarterback. What are you doing? And he's like, well, this other school's offered me twice the NIL deal. Okay. That's a real thing that could happen, but Ohio State's doing a good job in NIL as far as retaining their players. I'm not really worried about it. If I look at specific guys, I can make an argument that I think are strong arguments. You have a chance to start. You're going to play with Julian Sayin as your quarterback. Where else are you going to go that's a better fit than that? And by the way, Ryan Day is the common denominator here. And I'm going to get to something very important. I somewhat buried the lead here, but I wanted to get to what I was hearing about Hartline and what Brian Day might be thinking. All right. What effect will Brian Hartline taking the job right now have on this year's team? Because if they go back-to-back, baby, part of still basking is not worrying about stuff like you're going to lose coaches. That's part of winning. So we're still basking. You win national championships, you're going to lose some coaches. Chip Kelly left after last year. Jim Knowles left on his own volition, and then Ohio State improved. Still one of the craziest things ever. Ohio State loses 8 draft picks off their defense last year, the number 1 defense in the country, lost their defensive coordinator, and then they come back next year and they're a better defense. It's insane. So these things are going to happen. But here's the deal. It's not going to affect this year's team. Why? Because I have multiple sources. I didn't really put this out there that much. I hinted at it during the season. Well, the season's still going during the regular season. Ryan Day was still calling the plays, guys. Now, was he calling every play in the Grambling game? No. Was he calling every play in the UCLA game? No. Was he calling every play at the Michigan game? Damn right he was. Okay? So, and big moments throughout the season, big games, Ryan Day was always calling the plays. And we didn't want to put that out there and throw Brian Hartline under the bus. Well, what good does that do? And Brian was calling a good amount of the plays, and regardless, he was heavily involved. But it's not even like a Tom Herman situation 11 years ago, and that worked out obviously very well. Ohio State won the national championship. He took the Houston job. It's very similar in a way. He took the Houston job and then stayed on, as Brian Hartline's going to stay on. But even though Urban was very involved in the offense, obviously, Herman was the play caller. Urban would veto him sometimes. 2013 Big Ten championship game when Tom Herman wanted to run Carlos Hyde and Urban vetoed him and ran Braxton Miller right into a wall. Although if tight end doesn't miss the block, Braxton gets the first down. But so Urban would veto Tom, but Tom was the play caller. For his 3 years in Columbus, whereas Brian was like not really the play caller. He was like occasionally allowed to call plays. It's like occasionally allowing like your little brother to borrow your car when you're in college. He's in high school. It's like, okay, I'll throw you some scraps here. That's basically what it was. So it's not going to affect this year's team at all. And plus, Brian Hartline is staying with the team. And is he going to be a little distracted? Yeah, I mean, Tom Herman was too, but these guys are smart enough to walk and chew gum at the same time. He can still recruit for USF and still do his thing as Ohio State, especially knowing you guys have the knowledge that he wasn't the primary play caller anyway. This is the Ryan Day's offense. Losing Matt Patricia right now would be awful. Losing Brian Hartline long-term is what I'm a little bit concerned about, but not even really that concerned because it's Ohio State. They'll be fine. And we knew this day eventually was going to come. That Hartline was not going to be just assistant coach at Ohio State forever when he was the best in the whole damn world at what he does as far as recruiting wide receivers and developing them, like I said earlier. But Ryan Day was calling the plays. And one more thing I want to circle back on what Ryan Day said yesterday regarding the plan. Again, no names, but the plan. He said he seemed very, very, very confident that he's going to hire a good. Here's what he said. We will have a plan and we will move quickly. We will have a plan and we will move quickly. So what does that tell you? That tells you he already, like every good coach does, already had a list going because he knew Hartline was interviewing for jobs. So, again, he's just been knocking it out of the park with his hiring. So he'll hire somebody good. And as soon as I hear a name, I'll let you guys know. So it's not going to affect this year's team. It's not like now that Hartline is taking the job. He's staying on the rest of the season anyway through the playoffs. It's not like JJ's now going to quit the team or something, or Carnell or Brandon Ennis. It's like, and transfer somewhere. It's like everything's going to be fine. It doesn't affect the 2025 Buckeyes at all, in my opinion. Not at all. And people are, well, he's going to be recruiting for a competitor. We don't recruit against South Florida to steal a line from Urban Meyer. We don't recruit against Wake Forest. There's no conflict of interest. He's not going to Penn State. So I've heard people say, well, he's going to be committed. They're not a competitor. Since when is South Florida a competitor of Ohio State? Let's get real here. We talking college baseball? No, even then it wouldn't be fair because then they would have the major advantage over us if it was college baseball. There's no competition there. He's not going to be recruiting the same kids that maybe he'll get one or knowing him. He probably will get like one or two 5-star wide receivers knowing him. But like other than that, it's like, come on. So it's not going to affect this year's team. It's not going to affect this year's team at all because Ryan Day is the play caller, guys. And Hartline's sticking around to add his expertise throughout the run. Because Hartline's still a big part of what the offense does. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. So is Keenan Bailey. So is Tyler Bowen. Tyler Bowen's the run game coordinator. So, and he was the play caller. He was the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. That was a good hire. Bowen's doing a good job on the recruiting trail. He's doing a good job coaching up that O-line. That O-line played great against Michigan. Didn't play good. They played great. Saving your best for then. All right. By the way, before I forget, I'm doing a live hit on CBS HQ at 11:15, previewing the Big Ten Championship game. We'll have an insider from our Indiana site on there as well with me. So live CBS HQ, 11:15 a.m. Eastern today. So about an hour and 20 minutes away if you're watching this live. CBS HQ is awesome. This is not a paid advertisement. Just it's free. It's just live. It's always going 24/7. No pun intended, but 24/7 sports. But seriously, it's always going. I compare it to like what SportsCenter used to be, like in the 90s, kind of just, sometimes it's live, sometimes they're replaying segments, but it's always going. And it's no like fake debates and stuff like that. It's just news and analysis, highlights. It's really cool, and it's free. You can watch it on your phone, tablet, laptop, whatever, wherever. And again, it's just free and it's always there. So CBS HQ, I will be on there. I believe it'll be simulcast on CBS Sports Network too. CBS Sports Network typically does, when CBS HQ is doing college football stuff, they'll typically simulcast that. So, which makes a lot of sense if you're CBS. Why not do that? What else you put on CBS Sports Network at 11:15 on Thursday? How about some Ohio State and Indiana talk? Speaking of which, that line for Buckeyes and Hoosiers on Saturday, it's down to 4.5. And listen, guys, I'm picking Ohio State to win, but it would not be the most surprising thing in the world if Indiana wins this game, in my opinion. And the players really want it, and Ryan Day really wants it. The coaches really want it, which I love that. But I'm kind of like this too. It's kind of like, does it really matter that much? Yeah, it does, because you want the Big Ten championship game. You want the number 1 seed. But the loser of this game is not falling any further than 3rd, in my opinion. So the loser of this game is not only going to get a bye, they're going to be the number 3 seed. They're not even going to fall to 4th. Even then, you'd still get a bye. I've seen debates as, oh, will the loser of the Ohio State-Indiana game still get a bye in the first round? It's like, yes, that's the dumbest debate ever. Unless it's 59-0, the loser of that game 100% is getting a bye, because the committee's not going to punish them. They're the 1 and 2 ranked teams. They're playing each other. They're 12-0. They're not going to then punish the loser of that game and knock them to like 5th. Like, get real. It's like the dumbest debate in sports right now. I don't think too many people are having it, but I have seen it in more than one place. Yes, 100%, unless it's 59-0. Hi, Wisconsin. Hi, 2014 Wisconsin. Unless it's 59-0, the loser of this game is still getting a bye. So does it really matter? And what if having the number 3 seed's actually an easier path? You're still getting a bye. We don't know. We don't know how it's going to be. We don't know. I tend to think I want the number 1 seed, because I think Texas Tech's going to win. I think Georgia's going to win. So, Bennett, do you want to be on Georgia, play Georgia potentially in the semifinals, or do you want to play Texas Tech potentially in the semifinals? And I'm somebody who buys into Texas Tech as legit, but I'd rather play Texas Tech than Georgia. Again, I think Texas Tech's legit, but so I want the number 1 seed. It doesn't matter on Saturday, but I tell you what mattered was beating Michigan, obviously, and getting a bye in the CFP, and then winning the national championship, hopefully. That's what matters. If they do that and they slip up and lose by a field goal to Indiana, which I think is very possible. Indiana is legit. They're playing in their home state. And not that's going to be like a home field advantage. There's going to be at least half Buckeye fans there. It's the easiest drive in the world. Directions from Columbus. Hop on 70 West till you hit your hotel in Indianapolis. End of directions. Not even joking. So there'll be plenty of Buckeye fans there, but still, you're playing in their home state. That has to help them a little bit, Indiana. They're a really good team. They're going to be highly motivated, and they're not coming off like an emotional win. They just, I know Purdue's a rivalry game, but that game was over quickly. And Ohio State put so much emotion into that Michigan game, rightfully so. Think back to 2019. They ended up winning the game, Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, but what happened? Ohio State's coming off that Michigan game, feeling good, feeling relieved, and then Wisconsin came out there and jumped them, got up like 14-0. Then Ohio State turned it around and won the game. So again, I think Ohio State's going to win. They're the better team, but man, I tell you what Cignetti's done is so damn impressive, and this Indiana team is good. They don't have any weaknesses. They're good offensively, defensively. They can throw it, they can run it, they can stop the pass, they can stop the run. They're good on special teams. They don't have the depth Ohio State does. They don't have the superstars that Ohio State does, but they've got some really good players. Well, Mendoza's a superstar. So is the receiver, Surratt, and they've got some other guys that you maybe could argue are superstars, but they don't. I mean, come on. You look at these mock drafts, it's ridiculous, man. And that doesn't even include Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sand and Bo Jackson because they're not draft eligible. Look at Dane Brugler, who I referenced earlier. He's got Arvell Reese going top 5, Carnell Tate going top 5, Caleb Downs going top 10. Caden McDonald going top 15 or 20. It's just insane. Sonny Styles first round. Nobody else has that. So Ohio State, while Indiana is good on every level, they're well coached. Ohio State's better. So I do think Ohio State's going to win, but this will be the best team Ohio State's faced this year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think Indiana would smoke Texas if they played. And Texas right now would be the best team Ohio State's played. Sure isn't Michigan, is it? Number 19, Michigan. Headed off to the Citrus Bowl. I've been asking some of my friends who are Michigan fans. Some of them don't even know I'm being sarcastic, even though they know me and they should know that I'm trolling them. I'll text them. Texted my buddy Adrian, and I was like, hey, you headed down to the Citrus Bowl? It's like, nah, I can't make it. I'm like, I just sent back just a laughing emoji. He's like, oh, you jerk. I'm like, how did you not know I was trolling you with that? You headed down to Orlando. It's a beautiful time. January 1st. We had plenty of times going to the Citrus Bowl when Cooper was here. So, I went to one of them. When I was a freshman at Ohio State in 94, I went to the Ohio State-Alabama Citrus Bowl. It was a really good game. Really good game. Bama because Bill Young was a terrible defensive coordinator. Bama had and kept throwing the same damn screen pass to Sherman Williams. I mean, like 10 different times. They're running back, and Alabama came back and won the game in the fourth quarter. It was back and forth. It was a good game. I actually went to that. But yeah, I've been trolling my Michigan fans, friends. Hey, you guys headed down to the Citrus Bowl? You got tickets yet for the Citrus Bowl? I highly recommend doing that. I don't highly recommend having Michigan fans as friends, but if you happen to, now's the time to troll. So, but yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting game Saturday night, and there's not really much on the line, which sounds insane, right? What do you mean there's not much on the line? It's the Big Ten championship on the line, #1 seed. Okay, but when you factor in that, like, winning the Big Ten championship isn't what it used to be, A, and B, like, winning the national championship and beating Michigan is really all I cared about coming into this year. So achieve those two goals, we'll still be basking. Winning the Big Ten championship game would be good, though. And I will add this. I'm not looking at the chat because it's hard to do when I'm doing the show solo, but I'm sure many of you are pointing this out. Whoever wins this game, that quarterback's winning the Heisman. So you definitely want to get Julian the Heisman. I've seen some arguments. Well, what if it's a defensive slugfest? Could Diego Pavia win it? No. Whoever. I mean, it'd have to be like both quarterbacks would just have to be awful. Like no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and then it's like a 10-7 game or something. The defense. It's not going to be like that. Whoever wins this game, that quarterback's winning the Heisman. So I'm contradicting myself a little bit because when I think about that, then I'm like, that gives me a little more like, we got to win this game. But you look at the season as a whole, it's really not that meaningful. Just got to be honest about it. It's just not, doesn't mean that much. But I still want the Big Ten championship, and I want Julian to win the Heisman. And I do want the #1 seed. So it's not like I'm not saying it's meaningless. Okay, it's just nowhere near as important as like the Michigan game, for example. I know I'm not breaking news there, but I still want it. I want the Big Ten title. I want the #1 seed, and I want Julian to win the Heisman. All right. I better get off here so I can get the show up and then get ready for my hit on HQ later. Again, I'll be on HQ at 11:15 talking Ohio State, Indiana, Big Ten championship game. I'm sure they're going to ask me about Brian Hartline too and what I'm hearing. And I can repeat what I just told you guys about. This is what I'm hearing about how they're going to approach it. I don't have any names, but looks like they're going to bring in somebody from the outside, but they are considering promoting from within, although that's unlikely. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys a lot. I'll be with you tomorrow with J-Book. We might have a guest with us. But regardless, it'll be J-Book and I. BTA Fridays, we'll have our predictions. We'll have our best bet. Whatever my best bet is, you guys do the opposite. If you like green paper, I would do the opposite of whatever I say. So, but we'll be with you tomorrow, my friends. I really appreciate you guys. And we'll have the Ryan Day Collins show later today. And we'll have Patrick Murphy will be all over that. He'll have it right up on Bucknuts. So get on Bucknuts. You can't listen to the Ryan Day Collins show. We'll have live updates and a recap for you. Really appreciate you guys. I know despite what happened yesterday, I know you're still basking, as you should be, and you will be for a long, long, long time. You have been for a long time. It's just going to keep going. That's how we're doing it. We've started a movement, and that movement is not stopping anytime soon. Dynasty in progress, my friends. So I know you're still basking. Go Bucks.